Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: world's major oil producers spurn fossil fuel phase-out in net zero push research. New nuclear reactor rules ease fusion confusion. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried failed likability test at trial. Legal experts step up to defend wave of AI lawsuits. Law firms feel chill from affirmative action ruling. World's major oil producers spurn fossil fuel phase-out in net zero push research. Reuters. Despite pledging to reach net zero emissions, none of the major oil and gas-producing countries have plans to stop drilling for fossil fuels, according to data from the Net Zero Tracker. The data showed that 69 oil producers, including the US, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, have pledged to reach net zero emissions, but only 3 minor producers, Denmark, Spain, and France, have plans to phase out drilling. The findings highlight the gap between countries' climate targets and their real-world plans for CO2-emitting energy production. At the COP28 summit, governments are debating whether to agree to phase out CO2-emitting fossil fuels. New nuclear reactor rules ease fusion confusion. Financial Times. Energy lawyers in the U.S. are hoping that new regulations for the fusion power sector will set a global precedent and make it easier to deploy the technology worldwide. In April, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission voted to regulate fusion energy separately under a less onerous regime than fission. The decision was necessary to give fusion technology a chance of helping to cut emissions. Fusion is the process that occurs when atomic nuclei in two hydrogen isotopes are fused. This releases vast amounts of energy and emits no carbon. Unlike fission energy, fusion creates no long-lived radioactive byproduct and cannot result in a nuclear accident. The new regulations mean that fusion reactors will be regulated under the same regime as particle accelerators. This will make it faster and less costly to develop prototype fusion devices and future power plants. The UK has gone even further, announcing in June that future fusion facilities will be regulated by the Environment Agency and the Health and Safety Executive rather than the Office for Nuclear Regulation. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried failed likability test at trial. Financial Times. Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of FTX cryptocurrency exchange, recently faced a guilty verdict on all counts in a New York court. Lawyers have suggested that his decision to testify in his own defense may have backfired, as he was unable to recall important events and refused to provide clear answers. Some argue that his lack of charisma and likability made it difficult for the jury to sympathize with him, and this may have influenced the outcome of the trial. This case highlights the importance of a defendant's testimony in U.S. criminal trials, where jurors often base their decisions on their perception of the defendant's credibility and likability. Bankman-Fried's lack of emotional expression and remorse during the trial may have further damaged his chances of a favorable outcome. The judge denied a request to inform the jury that Bankman-Fried has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which affects his body language and eye contact. The trial raises questions about the role of emotions and charisma in the courtroom and how they can influence the outcome of a trial. Bankman-Fried's sentencing is yet to be decided. Legal experts step up to defend wave of AI lawsuits. Financial Times. There has been a wave of litigation and lobbying efforts in the AI industry, as copyright infringement and defamation lawsuits are filed against companies such as OpenAI and Anthropic. OpenAI has been sued by writers, musicians, and visual artists who allege that the company used their copyrighted works without permission to train its language models. Universal Music has also sued Anthropic, claiming that its AI-based platform generated copyrighted lyrics. In addition to copyright and defamation issues, legal experts predict that future legal claims will focus on safety and accountability concerns related to AI. As a result, law firms are increasingly getting involved in the AI industry, helping developers and users navigate the legal landscape. Firms such as DLA Piper and Morrison Foerster are advising on issues such as copyright infringement, defamation, accountability, discrimination, and bias. The firms are also helping to create legal guardrails and internal policies for AI use. Lawyers in the AI field are preparing for disruptions and new challenges, such as the authentication of deepfake evidence and the discovery of liability in cases involving AI-assisted tools. Law firms feel chill from affirmative action ruling. Financial Times. Law firms are concerned that a June ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court against affirmative action in university admissions will affect their diversity strategies. Law firms have no direct involvement in the ruling, but have been alarmed by lawsuits challenging the legality of diversity programs. A report by Leopard Solutions says 64% of diversity professionals at law firms expect the Supreme Court's decision to make their jobs harder, while 24% think the ruling may alter their firm's goals on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Superintelligent AI, transhumanism, etc. Financial Times. The penultimate episode of the Tectonic series explores the ideas driving the pursuit of human-level artificial intelligence, AI. The Extropians, a group of futurists from the early 1990s, are discussed, with Anders Sandberg from Oxford University's Future of Humanity Institute explaining the ideas developed in the Extropians mailing list. The episode also features Connor Leahy, co-founder of Conjecture, and Timnit Gebru, founder of the Distributed AI Research Institute, DAIR, discussing their concerns about the Extropians' continued influence on the AI industry today. Can Boris Johnson keep his cool at UK's COVID inquiry? New York Times. Boris Johnson, the former UK Prime Minister, will testify before an official inquiry on Wednesday about his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The inquiry, which began in June and is expected to continue until 2026, is an independent examination of the UK's response to the pandemic. Johnson will face questions about whether he should have imposed a lockdown earlier, whether he took the virus seriously enough, and whether his leadership style contributed to the high death toll. Several former ministers and aides have testified in the inquiry, characterizing Johnson's performance as unsteady and erratic. The former Prime Minister can point to some victories, such as the rapid vaccine rollout in early 2021, but overall, his performance has been criticized. Johnson's appearance before the inquiry is expected to be challenging, and his mastery of detail and response to potentially hostile questioning will be critical. The inquiry has already produced drama, including the release of text messages between government officials. China could help fight illegal arms trade fueling conflict in Africa, experts. South China Morning Post. China, which is a major supplier of weapons to Africa, could help combat the illicit arms trade that is fueling conflicts across the continent, according to experts. China could also play a role in upholding international law and norms governing arms transfers. China has appointed a special envoy to broker peace in the Horn of Africa, where it has its first overseas military base. Security researchers say that while the illicit weapons fueling conflicts in Africa may not be traced to China, Beijing could take a more active role in peace and security to mitigate the effects of illegal arms transfers. China's move to join the Arms Trade Treaty in 2020 and its ratification of the UN Protocol against illegal manufacturing and trafficking of firearms are seen as positive steps. China and Africa have committed to work together to fight against the illicit transfer and misuse of small arms and light weapons and their ammunition. Experts say that China's growing influence in Africa could lead to financial and technical support for efforts to combat the illegal trade in arms. However, they note that more information is needed on how China's commitments are being operationalized and their impact on the illicit trade and diversion of arms. Quinterly and Harrison help West Virginia women get rare victory in series with number 25 Penn State. Associated Press. West Virginia defeated number 25 Penn State 83-65 in their first victory in the series since 1989. J.J. Quinterly led West Virginia with 22 points, while Jordan Harrison contributed 14 points, 9 assists, and 6 steals. Tay Valladay led Penn State with 18 points. West Virginia took a double-digit lead in the first half and Penn State was unable to close the gap in the second half. Penn State shot 47% from the field but turned the ball over 26 times, leading to 31 West Virginia points. Penn State will begin Big Ten play against number 12 Ohio State, while West Virginia will host Delaware State. The UK city voted prettier than Venice. The Independent. Chester has been named the prettiest city in the world, beating Venice into second place, according to a study using Google Street View to assess cities in the UK and worldwide. The study ranked cities based on the percentage of buildings adhering to the golden ratio. Chester emerged as the most beautiful city, with 83.7% of its buildings adhering to the ratio. Venice scored 83.3%, with London following closely in third place with 82%. I quit university after a year, and earned £85,000 in a successful IT career. Telegraph. Mark Turner, who retired this year after working in senior IT roles at large companies such as Vodafone, has said that he would have preferred not to have gone to university. Turner studied electrical engineering at a polytechnic in the 1970s, but dropped out after the first year and got a job instead. He has since worked in several senior IT roles at large companies, and earned over £85,000 per year. He has said that he would advise young people to enter computing at lower levels, stating that it provides a good grounding and makes individuals much more transportable. Turner also suggests that it is important to embrace the latest methodologies and ways of working, and to be prepared to work as part of a flat team. He also stresses the importance of being able to say when something has gone wrong, and to focus on finding a solution. Snowplow naming contest. Yahoo! The University of Colorado Boulder has joined a national initiative to improve retention rates of underrepresented faculty in STEM subjects. The Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities, APLU, leads the initiative, which seeks to attract, retain, and support underrepresented faculty in science, technology, engineering, and math. The university will spend the first year of the program conducting self-assessments and auditing policies to determine how to develop a more supportive environment. The retention rate for minority faculty in 2022 was 80%, the same as the overall faculty retention rate for those hired in 2015. Higher ed has become a threat to America. Wall Street Journal. The corruption of higher education by radical political activists is to blame for the degradation of American society, says Bruce Ellis in a Wall Street Journal op-ed. Ellis claims that university education departments train teachers to prioritize social justice over education, while censorship began on one-party campuses that shut down conservative voices. The coddling of criminals, the drive to separate children from their parents, and open borders are all traced back to academia's devotion to radical left ideologies, he adds. New Democrat-led board in Central Bucks takes control, reverses controversial policies. Yahoo! The new Democrat-led school board in Central Bucks, Pennsylvania, has made some significant changes in its first night in office. The board reorganization meeting on December 4 saw the swearing-in of newly elected school board members and a number of reversals of policies implemented by the previous Republican-led board. These changes included hiring a new solicitor, cutting back on 4 controversial policies, and initiating a legal review of a $700,000 severance package for the outgoing superintendent, which had been approved by the previous board. The new board consists of Democrats Dana Foley, Heather Reynolds, Susan Gibson, Rick Herring, and Karen Smith, who won her re-election bid, as well as the sitting Democrat Dr. Maryam Mahmood. They join Republicans Deborah Cannon, James Pepper, and Lisa Ciccio. Smith and Mahmood were named president and vice president, respectively. One of the first actions taken by the new board was the appointment of a new solicitor, David Kahn, in a 6-3 vote. The board also voted unanimously to initiate a legal challenge to the severance package awarded to the former superintendent, as the agreement may violate state law. The board also reluctantly approved a $1.14 million bill for legal services from Duane Morris LLP, which had been hired to investigate discrimination complaints filed against the school district. Additionally, the board voted 6-3 to freeze 4 controversial policies that had been passed by the previous board. These included policies related to library books, pride flag displays, and transgender athletes. These policies had been developed with the involvement of the Independence Law Center and the Pennsylvania Family Institute, both of which have been known to promote conservative religious values in schools. Alabama vs. Michigan headlines 2023 college football playoff schedule. Yahoo! The college football playoff schedule for 2023 has been announced, with Alabama set to face off against Michigan in the headline match. The other 2 teams to make it into the playoffs are Clemson and Oklahoma, who will be playing against each other. The matchups will take place on New Year's Day, with the winners advancing to the national championship game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite observer from the 6 Degrees world, Dr. Six, coming to you with the latest news from all around the globe. Today, we've got a mix of topics, from the world of energy to the courtroom drama and even some sports and beauty rankings. So, let's dive right in. First up, we have some interesting findings from the Net Zero Tracker. It seems that despite many countries pledging to reach net zero emissions, none of the major oil and gas producers have plans to stop drilling for fossil fuels. It's a classic case of saying one thing and doing another. Looks like we still have a long way to go when it comes to aligning climate targets with actual actions. In the energy sector, there's some good news for the fusion power sector. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission has eased regulations for fusion reactors, which could pave the way for easier deployment of this promising technology. Fusion, unlike fission, is a clean and safe source of energy, and these new regulations will make it faster and cheaper to develop fusion devices and power plants. Let's hope this sets a global precedent and accelerates the adoption of fusion worldwide. Now, let's talk about a courtroom drama involving the founder of FTX cryptocurrency exchange, Sam Bankman-Fried. It seems that his lack of charisma and likability may have played a role in his recent guilty verdict. Remember, folks, it's not just about the facts in the courtroom, but also about how you present yourself. So, if you ever find yourself in a trial, remember to bring your A game and charm the jury. Moving on to the world of AI, it seems that there's a wave of lawsuits and legal challenges in the industry. From copyright infringement to defamation, companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are facing legal battles. As AI becomes more prevalent, it's only natural that legal issues will arise. Law firms are now stepping up to provide guidance and navigate the complex legal landscape of AI. They're advising on issues like copyright infringement, accountability, and bias. It's a challenging and rapidly evolving field, and legal experts are preparing for the disruptions and challenges that lie ahead. In other news, law firms are feeling the chill from a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action in university admissions. While the ruling doesn't directly affect law firms, they're concerned that it may impact their diversity strategies. It's a reminder that the effects of court decisions can ripple beyond their immediate scope, and it's important for organizations to adapt and respond accordingly. And now for some sports news. West Virginia pulled off a rare victory in women's basketball, defeating number 25 Penn State. It's their first win in the series since 1989. Congratulations to West Virginia on their well-deserved victory. But it's not all about sports. We also have a beauty ranking to share. According to a study using Google Street View, Chester has been named the prettiest city in the world, beating out Venice. Looks like those picturesque buildings in Chester really caught the eye of the researchers. Who would have thought? And finally, we have a story of a successful IT career without a university degree. Mark Turner, who retired this year after a long and successful career in IT, advises young people to consider entering the field at lower levels. He believes that hands-on experience and keeping up with the latest trends and methodologies are more important than a degree. So, if you're passionate about IT, don't let a lack of a degree hold you back. Embrace the opportunities and keep learning. That's all the news for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this mix of stories from around the world. Now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on these topics? Do you agree with the major oil producers' lack of plans to stop drilling? How important do you think charisma is in a courtroom? And what's your take on the beauty rankings? Let's hear your thoughts and questions. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.